Welcome back to another comparison of popular P2P lending platforms. Today we'll compare two well-known brands in the industry, Mintos versus Bondora. In today's comparison, we'll point out the differences between those two platforms. And as always, we will be looking at features, track record, pros and cons, as well as some of the recent events surrounding Mintos and Bondora. We'll refer to the data that's publicly available at the time of recording, so you can always verify the information on your own. As the P2P lending space is changing constantly, you should always verify the information before you start investing. So let's get straight into it. The biggest difference between those two platforms is that Mintos is a marketplace that lists loans from currently 66 lending companies, whereas Bondora is a P2P lending platform that acts as the lending company itself. This means that Mintos is just a middleman between you and the lending company, and Bondora is the loan originator who conducts the credit risk assessment of the borrowers and deals with the debt collection. It's crucial for you to understand the differences here as it influences the risk of your investments. If you are new to P2P lending, we suggest watching this video where we explain the various P2P lending models. So Mintos was launched in 2015 while Bondora has been lending money since 2009. If we look at the investor base, we can see that Mintos has currently over 382,000 investors, whereas Bondora claims to have more than 153,000 registered investors. As we have mentioned in the previous videos, you have to consider the active investor count. According to the info we received from Mintos support, 70% of their investors have invested at least 1,000 euro. When we asked Bondora about their active investor count, they just referred us to the landing page which shows the total number of registered users. When it comes to the minimum investment amount, Bondora allows you to invest as low as 1 euro into one loan. On Mintos, the minimum investment amount is 10 euro. Deposits and withdrawals have worked just fine on both platforms during our test. In most cases, the transfer of available funds takes less than 1 day, and Bondora it can take just a few minutes or just a few seconds. This is, however, dependent on the products you're using as well as the current market conditions. When it comes to the protection of your funds, Mintos offers a buyback obligation. This is basically a promise by the lending company to repurchase your claims against the borrowers in the case where the borrower is late with its payments for more than 60 days. That's at least the simple explanation of the buyback protection. If you want to learn more about it, I suggest watching this video where we go into more details surrounding the buyback guarantee. Bondora does not offer any buyback guarantee nor any other protection scheme. The platform is responsible for the credit risk assessment of the borrowers as well as the debt collection. You should also know that as we are recording this video, neither of those two platforms have a crowdfunding license. When it comes to the interest for delayed payments, on Mintos you will need to check with every lending company whether the lender pays interest on delayed payments or some kind of late payment fee. On Bondora, you are receiving a 0.2% interest for every overdue day. This is not valid for the Finnish loans, as in Finland this fee is forbidden. You should note that in both cases, on Mintos as well as on Bondora, you as an investor bear the default risk. Every platform has its own process of how to recover the debt. There is no guarantee of any specific return, and since the underlying loans are unsecured, there is always the chance that you might lose your money. On both platforms, investors have already lost capital. Mintos shows currently an average interest rate for their outstanding loans of around 12.8%. Note that this is not the net return that you will be receiving on Mintos. Bondora shows an average interest rate of around 31% with a net return of 8.7%. The net return of your P2P investments always depends on the loan performance of the loans that you are investing in, so take the promoted interest with a grain of salt. The majority of loans on Mintos are short-term loans or personal loans with a longer loan period of up to 3 years. Bondora is offering unsecured personal loans with an average loan duration of 50 months, so that's basically around 4 years. When it comes to the diversification of your portfolio, Mintos offers you the chance to invest in thousands of loans from a variety of lending companies that are operating in 30 countries. On Bondora, you are funding loans from mainly Finland and Estonia. Within those two countries, between 70 and 80% of the loans are originated in Estonia, so your exposure in this country will certainly be higher. When it comes to the diversification, you should always prioritize the quality over quantity. Some investors believe that the more they spread their investments, the better. Past events, however, show that this is not really true. If you have invested in companies that were suspended on Mintos, chances are that your returns are negative or that the interest you have earned over the past year is wiped out. You should always check the underlying assets, or in the case of Mintos, the lending companies and their lending practices. Many investors that are still active on Mintos today prefer to stick just to a handful of lending companies. If you are planning to become serious about P2P investments, you should certainly analyze the loan book and learn more about individual lenders before you start investing. The statistics on Mintos are actually quite insightful and likely one of the most useful features on the marketplace. You can get a quick idea about the performance of the loans from lending companies in individual countries. On Bondora, you won't find the statistics page very useful. Half of the charts are not loading from the database, and there is also no description of what every chart means. On the flip side, Bondora offers you the chance to download the loan book and analyze some of its numbers. Mintos does the same, by the way. To be fair, as a beginner, you will be overwhelmed by all the data Bondora is providing. You will need to sort through the sheet and take out the information that's relevant to you. So for instance, here are some of the charts that we had retrieved from Bondora's loan book in mid-February 2021. As you can see, only 21% of their loans are current and the rest is delayed. Bondora also rates their loans in categories, A being the best credit score and HR being the loans with the highest risks. You should note that the HR loans are also the ones with the highest interest rates of up to 80% interest per year. Mintos has also developed a rating system, not for loans but for the lending companies. To learn more about it, I suggest you watch this video where we explain the Mintos risk score. When it comes to the total funding volumes, Mintos funded over 6 billion euro worth of loans, whereas Bondora funded 408 million worth of loans. The outstanding portfolio on Mintos is currently around 400 million, and if our calculations are correct, on Bondora the outstanding portfolio is around 43 million euro. What's certainly worth mentioning are the products that both platforms offer. Bondora offers the Go and Grow product, which is being used by 93% of Bondora's investors. The tool is also by far the simplest way to invest in P2P loans. Go and Grow promises an annual return of 6.75% and instant liquidity. Mintos counter products are the predefined investment strategies. Mintos gives you the option to invest in three strategies: a diversified, conservative, and a high-yielding strategy. All three strategies promise instant access to your money, which is contingent on other investors buying your claims by using the same strategy. Many experienced investors on Mintos prefer to use the old good Auto Invest, which is now quite tricky to reach. You will need to click on the custom strategy to navigate to the right interface where you can set your own criteria. What you should keep in mind is that Mintos is a marketplace and it wants you to invest in all lenders so they can get a commission from them. Note that this is not really in your best interest, and often you are exposing yourself to unnecessary risks that are not really justified by the potential returns. Bondora's portfolio manager could be seen as a counterproduct to Mintos' investment strategies. Note, however, that this product does not promise instant liquidity. Another product that Bondora is offering is the Portfolio Pro, which is similar to the functionalities of Mintos Auto Invest, where you can basically define all of your own criteria. Note, however, that many investors that experimented with this product ended up with a negative return, so you should certainly be cautious when using Portfolio Pro. What's worth mentioning is also the fact that both platforms offer a secondary market. As we are recording this video, on Mintos there are actually more investments available on the secondary market as in comparison to the primary market. You should also note that Mintos charges a 0.85% fee for the sellers on the secondary market. We are currently not aware of any fees on Bondora's secondary market. If you're new to P2P lending, a secondary market is basically a place where you can sell your loans to other investors if you wish to exit your investments before the end of the loan term. Note that you might need to offer a discount on your sales on the secondary market, which may decrease your net return from P2P investments. That's just something you should keep in mind before you even start investing in loans. You should not invest if you are already thinking about selling your portfolio within just a few months. When it comes to supporting your investments, Bondora has disabled the direct support on their platform. If you have any questions, you have to send them an email to investor@bondora.com. Make sure to use the same email as is your account with Bondora, otherwise you might not get an answer. On Mintos, you can use the live chat option to get in touch with their support. We have tested the response time and both platforms got back to us with the answer to our questions within just a few hours. So that's basically the main differences between those two options. But before we wrap up this comparison, let's have a look at some of the latest events on both platforms. By the end of last year, Bondora has further reduced the monthly investments into Bondora's Go and Grow to just €400 a month. The thing is that Bondora has significantly decreased the loan originations, which is why they don't need so much money from P2P investors. What's also worth mentioning is that Bondora puts a lot of focus on recoveries. You can read more about it in Bondora's blog. We haven't seen so much interesting news on Mintos lately. The platform released a lot of PR articles highlighting the positive long-term returns by investing in loans on Mintos. This is likely an attempt to improve their reputation after all the suspensions and recoveries from 2020. What's worth mentioning is also the situation with Sun Finance. The consumer ombudsman pointed out that Sun Finance in Denmark has charged extraordinary high fees to their borrowers, which are not compliant with the maximum allowed APR of 35%. As a precaution, Mintos has paused the placement of new loans from Sun Finance in Denmark on the primary market for a few days, until the marketplace gathered additional feedback from Sun Finance and resumed their loans placement on their primary market. If you have some experience with P2P lending and you are aware of the risks, this news won't really surprise you. Regulators are getting more strict with lending companies, and in many countries, the maximum APR charged to borrowers is capped. This has also caused many payday loan companies to shut down their operations. The result of this is that many lenders will try to stretch the law by introducing fees instead of charging higher interest rates. What you should know is that many lenders don't include certain fees into the annual percentage rate calculation. There's nothing new, but certainly something you should keep in mind when investing in P2P loans. So that's been our in-depth comparison between Bondora and Mintos. Now you might be wondering which is the best fit for you. Well, in this case, it's actually quite tricky. The performance of Mintos lending companies last year has been very poor, and there is currently more than 90 million euro of investors' money in recovery. On Bondora, many investors that don't use the Go and Grow product don't have such a positive experience either. We have been testing the Go and Grow product for the last year, and Bondora managed to fulfill the liquidity as well as the promised return of 6.75% for the most part. Note that there are no guarantees in P2P lending, and while the return for Go and Grow has been stable so far, the liquidity was not met last March when the pandemic started. So it also always comes down to the market conditions. Bondora's Go and Grow is likely still the most liquid product in the P2P lending industry. The returns are, however, also much lower. This makes it a good fit for passive investors who don't want to spend too much time researching and monitoring lending companies. If you plan to start investing on Mintos, be ready to set some learning money aside and do your own research about the company, the terms and conditions, as well as the lending companies. Either way, you should always do your own research about every P2P lending platform. You can then compare your findings with our reviews on P2P Empire to see whether they match. If you're not sure about either of those two platforms, you might look into some other alternatives with perhaps different loan types and securities. So that's been our comparison between Mintos and Bondora. If you have some insightful experience with either of those two platforms, feel free to share it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.